Thank you very much, John. And thank you all. Thank you very much for the invite this afternoon. It's great to have the opportunity to talk about the eye review and what's going on with the work. I also appreciate that it is very late on a Friday afternoon, and as Catherine and John have said, it has been a very long winter. So just to try and keep it light and short this afternoon for you. But I'll start with a bit of eye trivia for you, in case anyone's going to a pub quiz tonight. Pirates used to wear a gold earring because they believed it would improve their eyesight. True or false? This will go a lot quicker if you actually play with this. True. Excellent. True. I tried to find out why, but I couldn't actually find out any information. But on quite a few sites, including Wiki, apparently it's the gold earring improved their eyesight.
It may have been looking to fix the rheumatoid arthritic gold use.
I have to do some more investigation for the next eye app and include that, yeah. Our eyes are made up of over 100 million working parts. True or false? False. It's 200 million working parts. Play with me, people. It's 200 million parts, so it's double. It's actually the second most complicated organ after the brain, so eyes are pretty cool. Okay, now you have to read this a couple of times, it's a bit long-winded, but basically, more Australians stated their religion as Jedi in the last census, and we're using the 2011 because last year's was a bit of a smozzle, that presented to ED in New South Wales with disease of the eye and anexia in 2016. So, what are we saying? True, false? True, yeah, you're right. You had 51,000 presentations to New South Wales ED with things like dry eye, conjunctivitis, conditions such as that. But you've actually got 65,000 people in Australia who follow the Jedi religion. So there you go. But what I'm trying to get to with those last couple of points is that A, eyes are really complicated, and B, you might not necessarily see many eye conditions coming through your ED. So the role of the eye manual and the eye app is really to give you that extra level of support in your practice. So this is the manual and the app. Has everyone seen the manual? Yes. Downloaded the app? A few more nods? Yep. Fantastic. It has been incredibly popular. The manual was first put together in 2009, 2010, and the app followed in about 2013. The manual I still get requests for on a regular basis. They go out to a lot of rural sites, love them. The Army uses it. They've actually sent copies out to a rural outpost on Rottnest Island over in WA. And as of this week, Queensland Health have actually asked to use our eye manual to develop their own. So it's been a fantastic resource and is really well received. The app, as you can see, has been downloaded over 30,000 times since 2013 when it's first released. And again, has been a really popular resource. So really, why are we reviewing? Why are we mixing this up? So basically, a couple of reasons. For information, the app actually was based very heavily on the manual. That information is now 2009, 2010, so we wanted to make sure we went back and actually found out that information was still accurate. So, make sure I don't miss the last point on that one. Yep. Yeah, there's also a report, we went out to the JMOs to talk to them to find out how we could improve the app. They actually said that there's a lot more conditions that are presented to ED than were currently in the app, so we wanted to make sure we reflected the current practice. With the technical side as well, there's a few broken links within the app as it's been around a few years, but also Apple no longer supported the app, and we were very concerned the app was suddenly going to collapse and people who relied on that resource wouldn't have it to hand. And finally, expectation. The original app back in 2013, I'm sure some of you got it, is basically a scanned copy of the PDF. There's not much interactivity in it. It's basically there as a written resource, whereas now people in 2017, they're expecting a lot more personalisation of apps and also to make it more interactive and include information that people wanted in it. So there's a couple of screenshots from the new app. As you can see, a bit more colour and movement. We've kept the formatting of the eye trauma, the red eye, and the acute visual disturbance tabs, so they've got a lot of the conditions that were there. Also widened them out to include conditions that hadn't been there before that had been reported that they wanted more information on. We can actually personalise it. You've got the gold star on the top, which means you can actually highlight your favourites. Some of the new inclusions of the app are videos of how to set up a slit lamp, how to perform certain procedures, how to do visual field tests, a lot of information that people wanted to have in there, so that way you can actually bookmark the pages that you use the most. There's actually an extended glossary in there as well. Again, some of the terminology we use in eyes, if you're not used to it, it can be a little confusing, so it's great to actually have that in a really easy searchable glossary that people can access. There's a home button. Because the app is a lot larger than the old one, the little eye in the corner, you can press that wherever you happen to be in the app and it will take you back to the home page, so you can't actually get lost in the app. There's a search function, so it's not as well indexed as Google, but it's as well indexed as we could given the resources, so you can actually find out what's in the app very quickly that way. For those that work a lot with children, or for those that don't, we've actually got a paediatric filter in there as well now, so it's very easy to try and get the relevant information as soon as possible. We also brought forward the eye treatments and the eye assessment tabs to make them right easily accessible up at the front. So those have those videos in there. We've also got links in there to all the outpatients in New South Wales. So if you're looking to refer a patient onto your ophthalmology eye clinic, it may be 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not quite sure what your eye clinic actually sees, you've actually got that information just ready to hand there now. Eye assessments, we had some feedback that sometimes patients, particularly elderly patients, are coming in. You might be concerned about their eyesight and they're still driving. There's some advice on how to approach patients of that and also what the actual standards are in that area. We've also got a diagnostic tree, which I'll take you through. That's really there just to help clinicians with diagnosis and just to give you some examples of what maybe that patient may be suffering from. And just down there in the corner, patient education. We did get some feedback that people wanted very ready access to patient information. This patient education information has actually been vetted by our ophthalmologists and come from some reputable sites, so you actually know the information you're giving to your patients is current and correct. So the page on the left is just an example of the paediatric filter. When you first download the app, or if you've already got the app when the new one's released, it'll actually come through as an update. There's actually a whole section, onboarding section. It doesn't take long to go through, and you can skip it if you're looking for something in a time pressure situation. It'll just take you through the new features and so allow you to make the most of the app. So just to go through one example. So this is an example for blepharitis. So we've kept the sort of original formats of those that are familiar with the manual and familiar with the original app can still take themselves through there. So we've still got the treatment times through there, a bit of history and findings. The new parts are sort of along the lines of with the initial treatment, so not only does it give you advice, but it also gives you links. So, for example, in this one, you've got eyelid hygiene. That would click you through, it would take you through to the glossary. It'd give you a little bit more information about how to do eyelid hygiene, but it also actually includes the link there to the patient information, so you can actually have a stack of those informations available. So then if you have a patient that comes into ED with blepharitis, you've got that advice on hand to give them the information there. The diagnostic tree, this has been a long labour of love and has taken a long time to get through. It's not comprehensive. We're not trying to be Dr. Google here. It's really here just to give you a helping hand and to give you some advice. Hence why on the beginning of the tree, the diagnostic tree, the warning always does come up. This does not replace clinician judgment. It's really there just as a tool for this. So imagine you had a patient that came in. You saw the eye was red. You could have a look at the eye. Is it focal or diffuse? Let's say it's diffuse. Is the eye painful? Well, we'll say it's no in this example. It actually comes up with a list of possible diagnoses that it could be. You'll notice there's a back key in all those, so if you accidentally press the wrong button, you can actually go back a stage and actually correct it, or if the patient changes their mind in a conversation. You can also have a look at the different examples. So at the top there, it just shows you, so you can actually follow the angle you've been down, so you actually know where you are on the tree. So, for example, in this case, say we think that we want to see if the patient's got viral conjunctivitis. You can have a look through, it links immediately back to the page, and then actually goes back to the ECI resource page, because what we found with the old app is as links broken, we couldn't actually readily fix them. Because all the information is now housed on our website, we're much easier to be able to update the information for clinicians, but also those without the app can actually still access that level of information. If we, having read that, decide the patient didn't have viral conjunctivitis, we could press back a couple of times and go look at some of the other options available. So it's a bit of a novel feature. We thought it was going to be really easy when we looked at it, but it has taken the best part of a year just to get this tree going. So I'm looking forward to seeing whether these feedback is when they get to play with it. So just some acknowledgements. The work we've done with the second app, with the 2.0 app, couldn't be done without a lot of hard work from a lot of good people. We've been very lucky to have really good engagement with both ED clinicians, and thank you to Vanessa for organising the ECI clinicians to be on board as well in that review. It's been very helpful. But also a lot of ophthalmologists as well. So we were able to actually have the opinion from both sides. Some of the new features we've actually got in the app is the addition of communication checklists. So if you're going to have to wake up Sir at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's a condition you think you need an ophthalmologist for, you better have a damn good reason. And now you've actually got the communication list built in within the app of actually which have been designed by ophthalmologists about what information they want to know about the patient, so they can make a quick decision about what to escalate and what needs to be done and when. So it really has been very much a joint effort between emergency and ophthalmology, and I'm looking forward to the app actually being released and you can actually have a play, and I hope you find it helpful. A bit of a whirlwind, but any questions?
What are you having to release the app, Sarah?
That's a good question. We've had to put back the date a couple of times. Basically, because of the diagnostic tree, it's been when we actually mapped it out on the wall, it would have actually literally taken that whole wall as a map. So for ophthalmologists to go through and actually work out to make sure we've actually given the right advice. So it's currently with iTunes at the moment. We were hoping it was going to be available this week. So we're hoping the next couple of weeks it will come out. Those with the old app, it'll automatically update, just as your normal updates do for any apps, so you'll get immediate knowledge. We'll also let Vanessa know so she can send a message out to the ECI network as well. The actual work of the manual will start after the app has been released. Because the app is so broad now, we're really having to look at what we can actually include in the manual because it's so interactive, so that hasn't got an ETA yet.